First, I have to check my makeup because, that's what, you take off your mask and then you're like, oh, make sure everything is okay for the close-up, for the photos, you have to check. Hello, how are you? Good afternoon. So my name is Vickie. I hate standing behind podiums because I think that it really separates us. Like automatically, it's like I appear like I know more than you because I'm up here on this podium, and so it's not personal. And I'm a very personal person. So I'm going to try to speak a little bit off so you can connect with me. So I've actually been in Ghana for almost a decade, which is always shocking for people because they're like, oh, but I don't know who you are. Shocked. When I first moved to Ghana, I got my first gig working for Printx. So from 2012 to 2018, everything you saw on Printx's social media, billboards, anything you saw, watched, or heard about Printx, that was me. I also handled Calipo for the longest time, for 4 years. So during that crisis when Nana Akufo-Addo was running for president and that was me. So most people have seen my work, they just have never heard of me. I'm sure you've seen an animation that was about a cho-cho guy and a kid with a logoligi straw. That was also me. So my background is actually in broadcast journalism. I have a master's in broadcast journalism from Columbia University. It cost me a lot of money, which is why I talk like this. Because you don't go and spend all this money at an American school so I can come back and be talking like you, no. I earned this accent, a lot of money. So I use it to my advantage. Anyway, so today I'm going to talk to you just some very basic things because the first thing we need to get out of the way is that there's social media, which is what we all do individually. We get on these platforms and we use them. And then there's content marketing, which is when you're actually being strategic about trying to get objectives, meet objectives or goals, either for a business or a brand. So yes, everybody can do social media. Who doesn't have a social media account? Exactly, everyone does. But that's exactly why on the corporate level, we're not taken seriously. Because leadership in organizations is like, social media, what is that? Kim Kardashian, what is this? And so corporate is very afraid of social media. They see it as a place where anyone can go and say anything at any time, creating crises that they don't want to deal with. So for the longest time, actually, when I first got here, digital was still not a place that corporate took very seriously because they were afraid. Just to give you an example, once I was running Frutelli's account, and there was somebody posted a Frutelli box with something inside, and it made it to one of the, it showed there was mold inside the box or something, and it just wildfire. Everybody, these people, they are trying to poison us. It was just trending and trending and trending. And of course, leadership in the company reached out to me, oh my God, what do we do? It's on Facebook, it's viral, it's on a blog. And my thing for any crisis on social media, I always tell my clients, give it 72 hours. If the survives 72 hours, then I'll put out a statement. Because that's how long it'll stay on the feed. Sometimes it doesn't even make 24 hours because some other crisis happened somewhere and all of a sudden you've forgotten. So the thing with social media, number one, or content marketing from a professional perspective, is don't be reactive or reactionary. Just because it's out there and your mom is calling you, because people will send it to you over and over and over again. Have you seen this? Have you seen this? And everybody's in a panic. And your job as the professional is to let them know, oh yeah, we've seen it. We know. We're aware. Thank you kindly. Yes, I've seen it, Mom. Yes. Yeah, have you? Yes, we've seen it. We know. And my strategy always is clear honesty, right? When there is a crisis online, my job is to best represent my client and also allay the fears and concerns of the public, because they have every right to be concerned, right? If you see something, but my job is to create the story or the narrative to help it make sense to everyone. Yes, we've seen the container. Yes, we're aware of this. I've already contacted the person. We've already taken action. We've already found a way to mitigate for the situation. And here are all of the other things we usually have in place. We have these certifications. So definitely it is possible, not in our factory, but somewhere, yes, along the way, it is possible that a vendor has put this container on a shelf for 2 years, right? We may have told them to take it off. They didn't. There's no control that we have. However, our job here is to always keep you safe and always protect you, because we are here to serve the people of Ghana. We would never compromise your health. Our employees consume this product, right? So, but if I'm reactionary because it's on digital, and then you're like, you get there and then you start fighting with people because they're saying this, somebody's posting this. So no, while I think corporate has every right to be cautious of social media and digital, it's up to us as professionals to create the processes internally and educate leadership and management about how there is a process, right? Yes, it's social media, but we do content marketing. And when it comes to how are we going to use it to expand or enlarge or widen our customer base, it's a long-term process. It's not one post. I know that most people think that like social media is just posters. It's very funny. Every time you go to any corporate page, they have a picture of somebody smiling and then like a funny quote and colors and logo. And that's what they think social media is. Content marketing, which is what we should all be trying to do, is how can I use all of the various types of media out there to build trust between consumers, the audience, and my brand or my company. You know, and it's not just social media. Social media is just one channel. For those who are in media, you already know that like TV is a different channel, radio is a different channel, you know, BTL activities, that's a different marketing activity. So social media is just one aspect of your content marketing channels, right? You have social media, you have blogs, you have your website, you have podcasts, you have white papers, you have customer reviews. All of these are things that live online, right? So it's really about a holistic digital strategy and not just social media. Social media in itself is just one tool. It's just one tool, it's not enough, especially if you're living in an emerging economy like this one where this is not a digital market. Very little transaction, meaning sales transactions, actually happen online. And that's the other reason why corporate doesn't take us seriously, because they're like, people are not buying it on the internet, so why are you even here? Why are we even online? The shop is not there, the shop is in the community, right? So our jobs as digital professionals or digital communications professionals is to show how we can create value, both for the customers or potential customers, and our companies and our brands and corporate. And primarily, I think social media's greatest tool is to allow companies to really get closer to consumers. It's a great opportunity, but unfortunately, corporate treats social media and digital like a, you know those notice boards they have in their offices where they just tack things? That's how people treat the platforms, digital platforms. They just come and post something, and then they go. But it's a great opportunity to engage with the community. How do people feel about your brand? How can you engage them to kind of help them design new products? Where are there gaps in the market? Somebody lives in a community, maybe they want your product, they don't know. What's the first place they're gonna go? They're gonna go online. So your job is to make sure that when they get there, they see content that makes them trust you. They see content that educates them about the company and the product. Not just like, I don't know, it's a very weird thing, this poster thing with the photos, and it's what the phone companies do. Like everybody, it's like, but it's 6 years, what they're doing today is like what was working 6 years ago. We're now in the era of video in terms of digital. We're in video. And so it's like, how do you use digital and video to engage your potential audiences and consumers? And then also the platform matters, right? Like every different digital platform offers you actually a different audience or a different community. Twitter is for global conversation, right? If you want to know what's the world talking about, you go to Twitter. Or what's the country talking about? And Facebook is for what's going on in my community, because it has the network of people that you know, right? And Instagram is what's trending in entertainment. And YouTube is where can I learn something? And Google is where do I have a question, right? So understanding how all of these different platforms work should guide the kind of content or your content marketing strategy. And the other thing is that the content marketing strategy should be completely and directly related to your sales strategy. It doesn't work on its own, just like how traditional marketing exists to create potential leads, right? The job of the marketer is not to sell. My job as a marketer is to get people interested in the product and get them started. You know, in sales, there's like a sales funnel. You know, you have discovery and exploration. So my job down here is the sale, and the funnel's like this. When people are discovering the product, they're doing that what? In the media, traditional media, social media, on your website, right? And then you want to create things that they can do to push them further down the funnel to take the sale. In our communities, the sale is actually happening where? Offline. So my job is to produce content and develop a strategy that moves people down the sales funnel so that by the time they get to a place where the sale is happening, they've already made up their mind that I want to buy this product. Right? We all love Nestle. We love Nestle. My son grew up on Nestle. I don't think any of us here have children in our lives who didn't grow up on Nestle. And my son starts his day with Milo. I don't know. It's like, I feel like, what do they put in there? Like, is it juju? Like, what is in this thing? No, I'm serious. Like, my son, I don't know what it is. But I wouldn't buy that product for my son if I didn't trust the company. And how is that trust built? It's built with all the CSR the company's done that I've seen online, right? It's built with, you know, what have I heard their employees say about working there? Because that matters too. If you know that a company doesn't treat its employees well, you're going to be like, hands off, right? So my job, when I develop a content marketing strategy, like the blogs that I'm going to write about the company, or the social media content outposts, or the video interviews we'll do, or the podcasts I'll create for a brand, or the tweets we'll put out, all of that I'm thinking about, will this make our consumers trust us more? Will they trust us more? Will this picture make them trust us more? Will this caption make them trust us more? How does it fit into our overall business goal or our campaign goal? Because sometimes it's not so much about growing a business, maybe it's growing a campaign. For example, I do some work for UNDP in Sierra Leone, and my team they've launched. They have a small grants program, and my team has gone around to talk to like farmers and all kinds of people around the community that have received small grants in their projects. And our job is to amplify the impact of this project, right, through comms and digital. So we go to the villages, we go to the community, we produce all the content, we do the interviews, and take all the photos and the videos, and then we come back, we edit all of it, and turn it into scripts. And then we send it to management and UNDP and say, here's what we want to post for all of May. Somebody from and this is our process, right? And that's the other thing I think about digital is that the more professional we are about the way we do the work, the more accepted we're going to be in like the whole communications landscape. So it's our job really to show, because the fear is that corporate feels like they can't control it, right? Like social media, we don't know, where's going there, like, I don't want to, let's say nothing. If we, like, the belief is that if you're not there, nobody's going to talk about you. Is a lie. It's a lie. I don't think ECG has a Twitter account, but somebody created a fake ECG Twitter account so we can insult them and feel good about ourselves. Just because they don't have an account does not mean we're not going to. So actually, I think it's better for you to be where your customers are so you can control the narrative. When you're not there, we're just going crazy, talking about you behind your back. So as the professionals, my job is always, people bring me in, and sometimes when they bring me in, they don't even know what to do with me. They're like, okay, post. And then I'm like, no, this is actually a team effort, right? So just like Debbie said, I've worked with so many different industries, and in every industry, people assume that I'm that professional. So when I worked for Printx for five years, people thought I was in fashion. When I worked for, in Sierra Leone, I worked for the brewery there, people thought like, oh, you sell beer. I'm like, mm-hmm. I worked for UNICEF where we were doing technology for development. Like, oh my God, you're really into technology? I said, yes, I am. Yes, I am. My job as a communications professional is in every sector, I master that sector because I have to know what's important locally, regionally, and what's globally, like what's relevant for this industry. So that when I develop my narrative and my story for all of my digital platforms, it makes sense for that industry, for consumers, and for the audience. So it's not so much always taking, as a communications person, like taking what your company has to say and putting it out. It's taking what your company has to say and placing it within the context of the community that you're in, which nowadays, because we're both local and global because of technology, it's a bigger conversation, which means your audience then becomes wider. So yes, today if I'm talking about fashion, I'm talking, yes, about the textiles that we produce, but I'm also talking about creatives in the sector who are designing textiles. I'm also talking about fashion designers who are designing making the fashion. It's also a conversation about photographers. It's also a conversation about the film industry and, how we're now bringing in African textiles and fashion into the, so it gives me such a wider scope and frame to build more engagement with the audience because I'm situating what we do in local, regional, and global, and that's the power of digital, right? If it's radio, I can't do that because my radio only goes so far. I have to stay, I have to stay here. TV only goes so far. Digital allows us like this unlimited reach, and that's why it's so powerful. So my main tip to you is forget about social media as social media and think more about content marketing, which I have a definition for you if this is the first time you've heard about it. Content marketing. Content marketing means creating and sharing valuable content to attract and convert prospects into customers and customers into repeat buyers. The type of content you share is closely related to what you sell. In other words, you're educating people so they know, like, and trust you enough to do business with you. And I think that that's the most important thing. If people don't like your brand, if they don't trust it, they are not going to do business with you. And the more high value your product or service, the more trust they need to have. Because if I'm buying something that's 10 CDs, yeah, I just want to know if it's clean, it's going to kill me. It's not going to kill me, okay, fine, just give me, I'll take it home and see. And if I take it home, it's not what it is, I don't come back, right? And I can just buy it right there. But if it's multiple thousand CD contracts that we're in, oh, I wait, you think, you measure, you compare. So your job as the content marketing professional is to always think that people aren't buying today always, right? You have to think about the long game. How can we create content to make people trust us over the long term? They may not need us today, but when they need us, we want to be top of mind. And digital can support that. But digital also can't stand alone. It's not in a vacuum, not in this kind of economy. It makes no sense. So it's part of the larger communication, part of your larger communications plan. You can't get rid of, the media. You still need to do your media engagements. You still need to go to traditional media. You need to be on radio. You need to be on TV and print. You have to build relationships. And then you're like, okay, digital is a part of that. Right? So I would say, depending on your sector, digital right now for where we are should be 30% of your comms budget. Hello, corporate, make that budget bigger. And in there, it includes, maybe you want to hire some influencers, right? And I don't mean celebrities, I mean influencers. That's a different thing, okay? So a celebrity has a large following, but they may not necessarily be influential for your sector. As in, if this isn't somebody that people usually recognize in a particular way, or this person doesn't connect with this segment of the population, you can pay them and people will see, they will see the visibility of that association with your brand, but it's not necessarily going to build trust online. It's just what it is. Somebody may only have 10,000 followers, but they may be more influential for your brand than somebody with 1 million followers. And our job, so my job oftentimes is to help companies make that distinction, right? Trying to advocate for people who I really believe will help build trust. Because I don't really value visibility for the sake of visibility for the clients that I work with. I'm like, no, it's not just about being seen. When we are seen, it should be of value to us. We should connect and build collaborations and partnerships, both online and offline, that's gonna advance us. It's not just for them to see us. Like, we can pay for to be seen. If we want to be seen, this is Africa. What can we not pay for? Just call them, hey, how much do you want? Let me just put me there, front page, right? It's about making valuable digital partnerships with the influencers as well. Is everybody like feeling like their head hurts? Because every time I talk about content marketing, people are like, oh my God, this is a lot. Just wanted to do ordinary social media. Now all this. But for people who are young in the industry, one of the things that I always say is that you may not be able to get to the level of expertise that somebody who's been in the industry 15 years has. But if you embrace digital, right, and you become a content marketing professional, you're like an invaluable, like they can't take you out of the equation. And the thing is, contents people can learn comms and do it very well. Comms people can't learn content sometimes. I just want to say. Because really, first off, I'm a content person, right? I went to school for broadcast journalism. I produce videos, I take photos, I write. That's content. And what I've been able to do is to use my ability to create content and combine it with, PR and strategic communications, but underpinning it all is my content skill. I'm originally from Sierra Leone, and I'm the only person that people follow in Sierra Leone that isn't a famous person. As in, they just follow me, they don't even know why. Like, nobody knows what I do. They're just following. And I last week I was I went to a friend's son's birthday party, and somebody was talking. It's like, oh, Vickie, I like your content. And then somebody said, what kind of content does she provide? She's like, oh, it's just her life. And it's true, right? So on the personal side, it's true. I will produce content about making coffee in the morning because I make coffee every morning. I love coffee. I stay true to myself. I'm authentic about that. It's something I love. So I can do 1 million making coffee videos. And the thing about the internet is there's always somebody who likes that thing that you think is insignificant. There's always an audience for it. I make tea, I'm making a video. I'm reading to my son, I'm making a video. I don't sell anything there. I'm not an influencer, but I am very influential. Because people know that I'm authentic about who I am and what I stand for. So whenever I see something and I love it, they know if I'm talking about it, it's because I love it. So that's my personal brand online, that if I love it, you're gonna hear about it. And so over time, people connect with that, right? If I say a book is good, they're gonna read it. If I say this restaurant is good, they're going to go eat there. And again, it's back to this thing about honesty. I think, on a personal front, because this is also another part of that, people think that when they get online, they have to be somebody else. Because the people that they follow look a certain way or do certain things. So they're like, okay, if I also want to grow following, I need to look like that person because everybody's following them. But you're going to run out of steam very quickly. And that's why people start, and they're like, I don't even know what to post. This social media, please just take it. Because you've gone and created an online persona that you have. For example, there are people I know who can't get online if they don't wear makeup. Because that's how they started. How to now bring real face. Or you wear one dress, you post it, I love this dress, but I don't want people to think I only have one dress. So we create these prisons for ourselves when the whole point of these platforms is to allow us freedom of expression and creativity, allow you to delve in those passions that you may not, because you are a professional, maybe your professional life limits you in a certain way. Right? So on the personal front, social media can be a place where you can really pursue and explore your passions, the things that you care about as an individual, disconnected from work. But it has to be about you. I think authenticity is probably, for me, it's the most important thing online. What do you like? What do you enjoy? That's your content. Never think that it's not going to be interesting. There was a time where every morning I woke up, while I was in my pajamas brushing my teeth and dancing, I was broadcasting that on my Instagram. I'd be there, crust in my face, dancing to Zangalewa. And people are finding that entertaining because that's who I am. So you find your thing that you're comfortable with, that you love and you enjoy, and don't worry about growing a following per se. In the sense that, when I get clients, for example, they're like, oh, we want to hire a social media person to grow our following. Okay. You can actually pay to grow your following if that's what you want. But you guys can always tell the companies that have paid to grow their following versus the ones that have built engagement. It's called organic engagement over time. Companies that have paid for their followings, well, it's two things. Either they had someone who was leading their digital campaigns that was really good and produced engaging content, so build their following. And then they got rid of that person because they got really confident that now we know how to do it. We don't need to pay these social media people again. And then when they do, they think they got the templates, right? So they're now posting those quotes with the picture. And it doesn't get engagement, right? So you'll see somebody or a brand have 100,000 likes, followers, but 12 likes when they post content. And you'll see somebody that has 5,000, and there's a lot of conversation, right? So usually when when they've paid for likes to grow your following, you can pay. Like if Nestle puts out an ad right now to get more likes, Nestle is a known brand. They're going to get likes, right? But getting engagement and building a community online is something completely different, because when you do that, it doesn't happen when the company is focused on itself. It happens when the company is focused on its customers and its staff. Every time I'll tell you, every company client I've worked for, when we put content that's about customers and staff, high engagement. When we post that like this, people on social media are people. They're not robots. They want to connect. And so that should always be the approach. So again, to round up, if you have questions, it's your job as the professional to think more content marketing strategy and less social media for your brands, right? And I would actually like to recommend, there's a online platform. Have you guys heard of Coursera? Coursera has a really great course on introduction to content marketing. If you're interested in just understanding like the basics, that's a really great place to start. Just like a basic. And then also after this, I train, of course I do. I train in content marketing and digital, and I have a content marketing kind of training that I've done, and I have it in PDF. So after this, I'll send it to April, Senam, and if anybody reaches out to her, she could just send it. It's like a PDF that you can download, and it really breaks it down, and it might help you better understand what I'm talking about, just from like a kind of like a wider understanding, and then you can deep dive into different parts of it. Some people are really good at podcasts. Some people they embrace different parts of content marketing is what I'm saying. You don't have to be an expert in all of the producing all kinds of content. You just need to understand that the content has a purpose. People should like your brand and they should trust it. And the more engaging and entertaining it is, the more likely it is that people are going to see it. So you make it, that's where the creativity comes in. But it's really, really important. And that, yes, you have to create a process for your content where corporate people like Debbie can, oh, it's okay, let them do it. Because you've shown, you have to prepare those scripts ahead of time. You have to do all the designs ahead of time. You have to produce all the videos ahead of time. And then you bring it in front of them so they can see what it is you want to put out. And then they can make inputs, drafts, et cetera, until you get to a point of finalization. You also have to do reports at the end of each quarter to let them know what's performing, what's working, what's the audience saying online. So if you really embrace digital, you become like a really reliable source of information and a key part of corporate. I really hate comms, just to say. I'm like, I hate comms. Because doing comms is actually, it's a hard job that nobody respects, in my opinion. Everybody thinks they can do comms. What is it, just talking? Can we not talk in this place? But talking and communicating are two different things. Because communication is about messages. It's about the message. So people can talk, and they don't give the message they're supposed to, and then it's like they just talked. What did he say? I don't know, he was just talking. So I usually say I hate comms because, most of the stuff I write, actually, what I like about it, what I hate is that it doesn't get respect and everybody feels that they can do it. But what I like about it is I support leadership. That's what I feel like. I support leadership. I support the engineers. I support the people who are coding. I support the MD. I support them. The things that I write, nobody ever gets to see that I write them. For 2 years, I ran the Twitter accounts of the former president of Liberia, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Nobody knew, but I was really happy about it. I'm like support, right? Like my job, I'm like the pillar. I'm part of the structure. I'm one of the pillars that holds the operation up. My work, if I'm really successful, and it has in Sierra Leone for 2 years, I supported the Directorate of Science, Technology, and Innovation at the Office of the President with Communication. And during my tenure, they were able to raise millions of dollars in funding. Without the stories about the impact of the work, that funding wouldn't be there. The stories that I wrote are the things that people quote to show that this project is worthwhile. Otherwise, it's just, technology for technology's sake, and nobody knows why it's useful. But when you can talk about technology for development and technology for education and education technology, and you can talk about how drones are delivering life-saving medical supplies to improve maternal health care in rural communities, then people start to think differently about the impact of the work. So yes, comms is great. We're like superheroes, capes, comms heroes. But yeah, we definitely don't get the respect and love we deserve. But I'm giving it here. Everybody here should feel really good. We should clap for ourselves. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up because I think I can talk about this forever, as you can see. I also host a talk show, so talking is my other job. So does anyone have any questions? Yes, sir. Are you the one that asked before? Okay, I was about to say, no more questions for you.
Okay, thank you very much. So my question is, as a corporate person, and as you're saying, we should be digitally inclined, especially utilizing social media. And on social media, we should be ourselves. But those of us in the corporate world, you are expected to behave in a certain manner. So for instance, you can't just get up and then be taking pictures of you brushing your teeth and all that and then post it on social media and say, that is me, I'm being authentic.
Okay, actually, I'll stop you there. On your Facebook page, do you have it there that you work at so-and-so company?
Sometimes we're expected to.
Okay. So this is what I tell people. If you want to own your personal account, do not associate it with your job. So on Twitter, don't say manager at, and then you tag your company and then you want to dance. No, that's not allowed. But no company in any country is going to tell you that you can't use your platform for yourself. If they want to, they're going to ask you to create a separate platform that would be you and the company name. So like Vickie Nestle, where when I want to talk about corporate things or talk in the capacity of my corporate role, I do that on there. You can't have it both ways, right? You can't both want to be yourself as an... So I'm the managing director of a company in Sierra Leone. I have staff. I don't have my company on, my company even has my name, Vickie Remoe and Company, but on my Instagram where I'm dancing and living my life, my company is not connected to it. Because I'm an individual on social media, my company has its own platform. So if you want to be yourself, then you create a platform for your personal self. But what people often want to do is they want to do both. They want you to know that I'm an official. Have big job. Selfie with my MD. And then when they do that, they're like, ooh, now I can't. Okay. But then every time somebody posts you on their own, you're like, oh, look at me, I'm Shada. So good. So my thing is, these are all different channels, right? So if you want to preserve your personal channel for yourself, then don't connect it to your corporate, right? Like leave it completely personal. Now, there are some jobs where upon hiring you, they may give you a social media acceptable use policy, meaning the company will tell you that when we hire you right now, you are in every way a representation of us. Do you agree? And if you do, then that means that henceforth, what you do in your public life, your private life, has corporate implications, right? But they pay you really well when they do that. You two, you're like, take my life, my brother. It's okay. I don't need to brush my teeth on social media. In fact, these people are foolish people. What kind of a... Get my point. So, yeah, you can't have it both ways at all. So when I'm working, one of the things that I'm really happy about is in Sierra Leone, I've worked for UNICEF, I've worked for UNDP, I've worked for IFAD, I've worked for the Office of the President. Here I've worked for Printx. I've worked for, most recently I worked for the COVID-19 Action Fund for Africa, which was a $100 million fund to raise capital for PPEs for people fighting, community health workers fighting COVID across the continent. It was a 24-country project. Yeah, I've worked for a lot of very, very public organizations who are very serious. But I'm also very, very keen on keeping me, the individual, alive and separate. So that means that most of the things I've written don't even have my name on it. Because I'm not important. I don't need to be seen through the company. The company needs to be seen, the company's work. Most importantly, the company's work needs to be seen. And for the company's work to be seen, for the impact to be seen, for the impact to be shown, I don't need to be there, but sometimes you comes people, yeah, you want to be seen. Said so-and-so, comes manager. When I draft content for clients, the quote is never from me. I'm always writing the quotes, but it will never be said Vickie comes there, please, please, please. I always say, whose mouth can we put these words? Who is here? Somebody needs to say, I've written the words, somebody needs to say it. And we'll pass it around until we find somebody who we can attach those words to. No, because I don't want that kind of association, because and that's me, I am not my work. What I do is not who I am. It's just what I do. I still want to preserve my personal identity online. Does that make sense? Sure. And also you can limit your you can still do certain things, but then limit privacy, right? So if you want to continue to be creative, but you feel like you want privacy as well, close your Instagram so it's private. Protect your tweets. Create a closed user group of close friends for Facebook, right? So make your social media, create two channels. One that's a public one where you allow everybody to see, and another one that's like, okay, here I'm gonna be the individual, but I don't want that kind of exposure, so I'll limit it. Does that make sense? Okay.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
First of all, Vickie, it's exciting listening to you from here.
Thank you.
You're great at your work.
Thank you.
And I would like to say congratulations to Faith and the team.
Absolutely.
It's been a great day. And as you can see, there are just a few of us men here. We are the shadow women in PR. We've been here from the beginning, so we're supporting your cause. Go, all of you. My question is, what do you do if you work in a corporate environment where the top hierarchy does not understand what social media or content marketing is? Because when you present everything else to them, like you said, they don't even see the value. Your audience are not online. And here you are feeling that you are not working enough if you don't do these things. And you can't put your personal funds into this to go and prove to them that this is what I want. What do you do at this level? And secondly, my organization, I work at the Head of State Award Scheme. I'm in charge of PR and comms.
Okay.
Recently, I'm sure all of you heard us, the Ghana Award House projects. We're online, and we got the bashing well. Now, this came as a result of the president coming to cut the sword for our office building, and the information was released on the president's official social media pages. And social media went crazy. The story was different. Like you said, give it 3 days, it will die down. Or this word without, dying down.
Okay.
At this point, what do I do? Do I respond, although it's not coming from my end?
Okay.
My organization is under fire. but the story is from the president's communication team.
Okay.
Who goes in to do damage control, me or them, or how do we work? Because it was crazy.
Okay,
Thank you.
fantastic. Thank you. I'm going to take your second question first, because otherwise I'm going to lose, and then we'll do if there's another one question. Okay, so whenever I'm launching a new product online, so anything, whenever something new is happening, if the president of Sierra Leone is going to go launch the drone corridor, if the government is launching an electronic pass so that there's a curfew and they want people to apply for a pass for their vehicles. Whenever I'm launching a new product online, I always have a social media activation kit. Okay? So I prep all of the social media content that answer the frequently or potential questions that are going to arise around this product. So after the product is done and everything we know we're going to launch on this date, I do my FAQs, right? This is when I'm looking at what is some of the nonsense that people are going to come at me with, right? And I ask myself those questions. What are people going to ask? And then I answer all of them. Okay? So I have my FAQs. I answer all of them. I share it with management. I'm like, here's what I've prepared for. And that really is a question of managing potential risk and exposure, right? I want to think ahead. Sometimes it's just explaining, it's just the facts, what it is, how it works, what it does, why are we doing this, who is it for? All of that are in my FAQs. And sometimes there are technical things that I may not know, so I'll send it to the technical department and say, hey, can you please, have I explained this thing the way it's supposed to be? Does it make sense? And they're like, yeah, they'll add some stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And so I have my FAQs. Then I have all my tweets, my LinkedIn posts, my Facebook posts, my Instagram, everything. I've written all of that copy, selected all of my hashtags, created all of my graphic design or GIFs or memes, whatever we're using in terms of visual. So even if there is something else that comes out from somewhere else, because I've taken the leadership with my activation kit, all of that is going to be out there anyways. So what ends up happening is that people who would have seen the content I put out will use it to respond to any other thing that happens. So sometimes they say, oh, you people, you didn't even do da-da-da-da-da. Usually it's because they didn't see and they didn't know. But somebody who might have seen would just say, oh, they did, didn't you see this? Right? And so that's where internal comes in, right? So when I do a social media activation kit, it's not just for our official channel, as in it's not just for the organization's social media platforms. It's for every member of staff. I am hijacking everybody's everything. I'm letting you know, you're gonna get an email from me. Hey, you guys, it's lunch week. So exciting, ha ha ha. Now, here's what I want you to tweet. Here's what I want you to post. And I usually also will send out, I'll create a WhatsApp list for that particular, the office usually has not a group, I don't like groups. So I'll create a WhatsApp list that's from comms, where whenever I have things that I want you to tweet or post or whatever, I'm sending it out to you when I want it to go out to the entire team. And then I'm checking. You have not tweeted, what's going on? All of this, right? So if everybody on the team has put out the content that you created for the activation kit, it's gonna go really far and wide. And so I've had, in a similar situation, we launched something in Sierra Leone, and somebody who was a consultant, not even a member of staff, a foreigner who was a consultant, then took the content and wrote like a LinkedIn post just to show what they were working on. But in it, people who were in that profession were concerned because it showed that there were privacy issues. Like they were releasing GPS coordinates of schools online, and people were commenting that this is actually quite unsafe. I did not ask this man to write this thing on LinkedIn. Nobody. He did not get clearance. He just did it. right? And then he starts getting all this hit, he panics and reaches out and says, people are whatever. I contacted leadership and I said, this is what's happened. I don't think we should say anything right now, but I just want you to be aware that it's out there. It didn't go away in 72 hours because tech people, I don't want to say they're crazy, but they're niggly, right, about these issues because they're very important for the industry, right? So they kept digging into it. So the 72-hour went by and it was still like more people were tagging people. I'm like, why are they tagging people with this thing? Please, we don't need more fire. But we never did make a public statement because it did die out. But that was also because we had additional content that was already out there that actually spoke to what the solution was and what the impact was going to be, et cetera, et cetera. The second thing about having management, I'm guessing your management is probably older, so it's a generational thing. Sometimes they just don't get it, and it's okay to say, you might want it for the company, but truly, the company might not need it. That's also reality, right? Sometimes people come to me and they're like, I want to put this on social media. I'm like, but your customers are not on social media. What's going to work best for you is having people do face-to-face in the markets. So yes, I've lost that customer, but so we're not in a digital world on the African continent. We're not. We're in an analog/digital world. And so whenever corporate is hesitant because they don't see the value, sometimes it is truly because the effort, in their opinion, is not going to be worth the investment, like the output. Like it's not going to affect their bottom line. That's the number one thing. They're like, how is this? The bottom line is here. Where is your part contributing to it? Where's your Facebook coming in here with the sales, right? But another way to pitch it sometimes is like if they have a CSR department, if they have things they're doing, community engagement, if you want to, you can usually, one thing they'll always sign up for if you're doing digital, for staff. If you pitch it as a way to build, to boost like staff morale and to show your talent and celebrate all the great people that work in your company, if you find a way to blend that in there, no one is going to say, don't celebrate our people. That we have great people on this team, and we really need to put that out there because it's going to help build trust. So please allow this budget for this year, and this is how we're going to use it, right? And also come back and show how you're using it, and do reports, even if they're not going to read it. Most times when I submit my quarterly reports, nobody looks at it. And they're really pretty. But nobody looks at it. Do you know when they look at it? Like a year later, when they need to show what they're doing. Then they'll be like, hey, you did that newsletter. Where's that newsletter? The one that had the bars. You know, the graph that was there. Then they'll come to you for visuals. So then they'll use it. But you have to make sure you do due diligence as the professional and not just pitch. Like I said, don't just pitch, we need to be on social media because everybody's on social media. Because actually in Africa, in Ghana, everybody is not on social media. Millennials are on social media. Urban folk, people who live in cities, are on social media. And in this country, those people are not the wealthy people. And that's really what they're usually saying, like, do they have money? Most of them are students. Do you understand? So unless your product is directly with that segment, for most times it's not going to make sense for them. And that's okay. They will get there eventually as more people have access to digital and as it becomes cheaper, et cetera, et cetera. But until then, it's okay. Don't use your money. Woo! No, my money for the client. No, we don't do that here. If they have to see value. I always say, if I've not communicated the value, then that's my fault, right? Maybe I didn't communicate it well enough. And then also sometimes I communicate well, but they don't see it, and that's okay. We move on to something else. You're welcome. Are we done? Okay, so
Yes,
thank
we
you.
are done.
Sorry?
We're
Oh,
done.
one more question? No. Okay, we're good. Okay, thank you so much.